Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's me to go first, and this looks a pretty good rack, but do I have a bingo? It'll certainly be a high probability one if I do. I don't think Fetia is good, or Ferry 8. Okay, I don't think there is a bingo here, in which case I'm looking to leave myself with the most bingo-y rack leave, and I think that is achieved by playing FAE. Just pausing in case I have missed a bingo. Fetia is the only one which is nagging a bit at me. Anyway, we'll find out later. Verdict, currently not playable. The V and the C have difficulty in terms of overlapping plays because there's only CH as a two-letter play involving either of them. And Verdict does not have any anagrams. Now, what about the floaters? Nothing through the F? The A and the E both look promising. But I can't see anything, and I am in any event expecting them to be blocked. FAE takes nothing after it or before it. Verdict does currently play in row I, making FE, AR and ED. So if my opponent changes, I do have a playable bingo. I don't know anything about my opponent tonight. In fact, I rarely know anything about my opponent on any night, but I do note that his rating is towards the bottom end of the ratings for which I send out a seek request, so I'm going to look to keep the board open to capitalise on what should be better word knowledge. Now, my Verdict spot has been taken, as my opponent provided an alternative. I think he has, because I think Lane takes an E in front. Does it take any of my other tiles? No. And I can't see anywhere else to play Verdict, so I'm grateful for this one spot. And this is going to... well, it's going to open up the bottom of the board. It's not going to open up the top left because the V is so blocky. But I'm certainly not going to turn down the opportunity of a bingo. Now, this looks reasonable. Bath top is not good. But there are scoring tiles in the BH and P, and it's reasonably balanced, so I ought to be able to play my way through this. A play of Bath or Fat, PHAT, would leave a decent rack leave. I certainly want to play off one of my T's, and I think that I'd like to play off the B because it's not particularly synergetic with the H or the P. So a play of both, actually leaving APT, would be quite good. I'm just looking at the floaters on the board in case I have an 8-letter word, but I don't think I do. Now both can play in row G, making Ben. For 20 points, not very much. I could play Botch in row M through the C of Verdict. 24 points, that's a little bit better. And there's also the triple letter square immediately after the T of Verdict. If I could get one of my high scoring tiles on that and get it doubled, I'd be looking at a very good score. But I can't see a way of doing that. I certainly do want to split up the duplicate T on my rack because that is inhibiting my bingo prospects. And if I am better than my opponent, I'm hoping to put that into effect by bingoing more than him. So botch would leave APT. That would be fine. Now verdict takes an S after it, so there is merit in playing off a lot of tiles to try and increase my chances of drawing one of the S's. I'm looking in column 7. FA takes a B and H and a P after it, so all of my high scoring tiles do go after FA. But I can't see a way of playing to good effect in row J to take advantage of that. I could play prob through the R of verdict, but that would leave the duplicate T. My opponent's taking a while with his move. Wow, pretty good. He had the blank, and that's a good bingo. And he draws to within 13 points of me. Now I'm looking at, well, I've certainly got to consider row O and the bingo opportunities opened up. So, for a start, I could play path across here. That's 47 points, which is a huge score. Now, is there something better? I don't think there's a way I can stretch to the double letter square immediately to the right of the H. But I could place my H underneath the U of anti-nuke. But if I played hat, I'd be keeping BP, and that's a poor combination to keep. It lacks synergy, and it's too many high-scoring tiles. So is there something better than path? I would rather play off the O than the A. But I can't see a way of doing that and playing off two of my high-scoring tiles, which I do want to do. Okay, well, this is the best I can see. 4 O's. Not good. Should I change? Well, there are some words with lots of O's, boo-hoo and voodoo. So I could play voodoo in row K. 10 points I think, but I think those 10 points are better than changing, and the rack leave is okay. Not often you get to play 4 O's in one go. Am I missing somewhere better? I'd certainly like to play off 3 of the O's, which significantly limits my available words. Yeah, can't see any way of playing off 3 O's apart from voodoo. Pretty good. From a keep of BT, I have boating. That plays in row G, also making Ben. Do I have a second spot for a bingo? Yes, I do. Row L underneath the last O of voodoo, boating plays, and it's going to score more in that spot. My opponent is unlikely to block both openings. Now I'm looking in column 8 at the AI pair to see if I have a 9-letter word. Well, it would be a 9-letter word ending AI, not very likely. But it could be a 9-letter word with AI in the last but 1-2 places. Okay, so my preferred voting spot has been taken. This one is still available. This is going to open the board up. Voting does take an S on the end, so my opponent could have a pretty hefty response. Oh no, it reaches across to the edge. But it does open the board up. Not a great pickup. U and the W do not go well together. Although I'm close to Guideway. Wiggy is good, which is playable in column 15. Rackley's pretty awful, but the score will justify that. 51 points. But if that's taken, what can I do? I'm looking at the triple letter square above the O of boating to see if I can place my W or my Y there, and I can play WYE. Well, that's a nice bingo by my opponent, 83 points. He now takes a 15-point lead. So this is what I was thinking of. $37 points, which is a good score. Rackley, pretty ropey. G and the U, not a good combination. U, a bad tile in itself, and a vowel preponderance. But it's not disastrous, and this is certainly better than changing. But can I do better? Well, I could play U in column 14, parallel to Gladiole. Let me see what that scores. $35 points. I think I prefer Y up here. Or do I? Because this Y takes out all of the floaters in boating. Do I want to keep those floaters available? I think I do, because I am behind. Except I won't be behind after I play. Now, is there another play which uses up one more vowel? Well, I can't see such a play. That's pretty good. Through an N I would have eugenist. Now I don't think I do have a bingo with this rack. But what I can do, hopefully, is play off GUE and keep EIST, which is a great set of 4 tiles. The board is looking tight. My opponent continues to score well. What I could do is play off GUE now and have a bingo and have nowhere to play it, which would be pretty irksome. I'm just looking to see if I can play underneath Rex. The X takes an I and a U underneath it. Bene takes a T. Well, GUE is certainly my preference. I can play that in row E, but for almost no points. It would be nice to open up the top left of the board. I can't see a good way of doing that. I'm glad I've got the T for going in front of WO, so that's definitely worth hanging on to. Well, I can play off EGU down here. This is going to obstruct my opponent pluralizing gladiol. Well, obstructing him a little bit. It may also enable him to score more. 10 points, pretty poor. But the rack leave is fabulous. So I think I will go with this. Great. I have Sarist in row E, making 2. Do I have anything through the V of Voodoo? Travis's doesn't play. Well, 59 points. That's a big score for my opponent. He now has a 60-point lead. But I am going to come back with a bingo. Now YA, I'm looking in column 11, does take an R after it. So if I could play a word with TR together in the word. Oh, I thought I had one. I thought I had artsies, but the R and the T are the wrong way around. So, satires, Sarist, arsiest, artsies, tyras. Okay, I'm not seeing anything better than a bingo ending above WO. I've got just under 10 minutes left. So this is the bingo I was initially thinking of. £70 points. I think I will play arsiest. That S is, well, I'm not sure whether it's better to place the S in front of that double word square or a vowel. If my opponent does score well by playing from D1 across to D4, he will be opening up column 1. Yeah, I can't see a higher scoring bingo. Arceus does not take anything in front. Now this isn't a good rack. I don't have vowels and there aren't many floating vowels on the board. There is the A of Arceus, but that I think is going to be taken. But I do have one vowel and there is A8, so I could play farce or fast indeed, F-A-R-C-E-D. That's going to score well and sort the rack out and retain the J for score next go. There are plenty of vowels still in the bag, so if I play off a lot of tiles I should have a reasonable chance of drawing one or more of them. I'm looking in column 8 to see if I can do better than fast. Well, I can do jarred. Great, that stays available. There goes the second blank. 50 points for my opponent. He's having a good game. I'm just looking to see if his play has opened up anything amazing for me. Can't see that it has. So, 11 tiles left. 45 points for jarred. This is going to give me a slight lead. Let me just see what fast scores. It's the same. So would I rather keep JR or FC? Well, that's quite tricky. I think I would rather keep the J. And I draw the Z to go along with it. I now have 2 vowels, which is a slight improvement. I've also got the U for going after the Q. So do I have a triple word play using QU? Don't think I do. It's a shame. But it means that the U may be worth hanging on to. It's not going to be as much of a liability as it is usually. 26 points for my opponent, another good score for him. He now has a 23-point lead. 3 tiles in the bag, and they're pretty bingo-y. So can I play off just 2, leaving 1 in the bag? As a 3-letter word, I've got Luz. So I could play Zulu at A2 down. Now I could play Judd across here. This scores well, keeps the Z for score, keeps the vowel. 30 points. Which is quite a good score. This is going to give me a total of 415, an 8-point lead. My opponent could well have a bingo through the letters in one of the letters in fast. And Judd isn't really blocking any bingo lanes. It is blocking row F, but that would be a bingo lane for a bingo ending in D with 4 overlaps, which is far less likely than a bingo through a single floater. So I'm wondering if I can... well, now, what about playing adds across here? 33 points, which is a bigger score. It's keeping the J for score. It's leaving 1 in the bag. It's blocking the floaters in fast. It's keeping the U for the Q. So, is there anywhere better than adds? Well, I can play off the same tiles in row L, making DZO onto the O of Gladials, but that's going to score practically nothing. Yeah, I like this play, and also retaining the U keeps it, the U and the I, they can both go underneath the X of Rex. Now I can see what my opponent's got. Well, he's got 7 of the 8 remaining tiles. I have quoit in row 1. Yeah, that's the problem with playing through the Q, is that I will be retaining the J. I've got only a 10-point lead. And given the tiles that are left, my opponent has a good chance of going out in 2, even though 1 tile is unseen. But after his next play, I will know exactly what he's got. And he's got a lot of time on his clock. I have a reasonable amount on mine. So, quilt and quoit are both playable in column 1. 42 points. But I'm going to lose 20 on count back. So my opponent would only need to score about 30 with his last 2 plays to win. So quoit or quilt are unlikely to be winning moves. Now my opponent may be tempted by adds. It does take an E on the end. But that's not going to score hugely. Great. Only 19 points, and that's not a great set of tiles he's got left. So he has taken a 9-point lead. I think I'm in reasonable shape. What I need to do, I think, is decide between Quilt and Quoit. So, Quilt, keeping J-O-R. I've got Roji in column 3, which scores really well. 22 points. Well, let me just see what Quilt does. Quilt, 42 points. That's going to put me on 4, 5, 9. 33-point lead. My opponent would need to go out and score 13 to win. But he's only got one vowel. So I'm looking at the vowels on the board to see if he can play through them. So for instance, the I of boating, he could play timings. But he can't do that because Y doesn't take a T or an M. Now there are no other available vowels, so I don't think he can go out. And Quilt or Quoit blocks musting. Or stewing. I'm not sure of stewing, but it certainly blocks musting. Now I've got at least two outs for JOR because I can play row G in column 3 and also row G in row K. So 42, 4, 5, 9, 30-point lead. I think this is going to be enough. If I played Quoit in the same spot, well, that definitely wouldn't be as good because I would have 3 consonants, so I don't need to consider that. Right, now see if my opponent has spotted an out that I've overlooked. And if he does block row G in column 3, do I have something better than row G in row K? Well, I've got jaw in row E, making jet above the E of Y for 20 points. I've also got jaw in row M, making jet and re for 22. Can't see anything apart from that. And row G in column 3 is only 22 as well. I've got jaw in row F, J-O-R, also making tau and for 15. And I think that's about it. Now looking at my opponent's rack, it's not very good. I think he, playing off 2 vowels in Rio, has placed himself in a difficult position. He wasn't to know the tiles on my rack. I think Rio was probably suboptimal. I'm not sure that he's got terribly much to consider. Because if he can't go out, I don't think he can win. He could play Ting and Bennett and Zai. 26 points. Which would bring him above 450, but that's not going to be good enough for him. He's got 7 minutes left on his clock. I think what I will do is pause this video until he makes his move. Welcome back. My opponent's just played Signet for 14 points. And while the video was paused, I spotted that I could play Jaw for 24 here, which is the highest I've seen. And I'm just pausing to see if my opponent's play of Signet has opened up anything for me. And I don't think it has. And that's the end of the game. Final score 440 to my opponent, 491 to me, a winning margin of 51 points. So a high scoring game and pretty close, slightly tense at the end until my opponent played Rio. Let's see what I missed. It was me to go first. Great, nothing missed here. That would have been pretty annoying. Now, all the options there are long words. I think a short word was much better than any of those because the tiles I retained were so bingo-y. Verdict was the only playable bingo. Great spot by my opponent. And path, well, path for 47, but there was also Opa for 5 more points, but a much worse rack leave. This is where I played Voodoo for 10 points, and I could have got a maximum of 9 more points. But all of those rack leaves feature a V and 2 O's. So I think Voodoo was better. I will reply to Macy after the video. Now, bind for 24, that's my opponent's move, and this is where I had boating for 72 and it was the only playable bingo. Great spot by my opponent, Gladiol for 83. I had a pretty ropey rack and was torn between playing Y and U. I think Y was probably better. Gosh, well, I didn't think about this. I think I was so taken by the rack lever VIST that it didn't occur to me to see what I could get by pluralizing Gladiol, but there was 45 points on offer. And the rack lever of EEIT, not too bad. What I did was huge of a 10, I sacrificed 35 points. Probably not worth doing, but EIST is a fabulous rack leave. Yeah, I think GUS was better. Great score for my opponent, 59 points. And Sarah Stanasius were the only 2 playable bingos. Now, this is where I was considering Jarred and Fast, and they scored the same. But I preferred to keep the J. Now, is this... Oh, well, this is where my opponent played Wem, and this is where I played Ads, and I could have played Jerd at M10. Making Jet, Re, and Der. Okay, and the rack leave of LUZ, pretty good. What it does do is empty the bag, and my opponent could well have had a bingo, so although the score looks great, 50 points, I think Ads for 33 was a better play, and that's totally based on the remaining tiles and the floaters in fast, in particular the A and the R. And this is what my opponent had. So, if I had played Jerd, did he have a bingo through the A or the R? Well, surely there's one through the R. Rosetting. Okay, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of others, but yes, he would have had a bingo through fast. Now, yeah, ads did block his bingo, so this is where he played Rio, and I think this cannot be the best play, but anyway. I had well, there were 3 Q plays available. I think Quilt is probably the best. My opponent did not have an out on this rack, and my best out was Jaw for 24. So, quite an exciting game. I thought initially, with my opponent's rating being significantly lower than mine, that there was a good chance that I would establish a good lead, and that wasn't the case. My opponent had good tiles and played well, and it was a really close game leading up to the end. And I think the 2 key moves were probably my play of ads, blocking my opponent's bingo, and probably my opponent's play of REO. I think he probably could have given himself a better shot of bingoing. Anyway, that was a closer game than I was expecting, but an enjoyable one, and in the end a victorious one. So I hope you got something out of that video and enjoyed watching it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.